writing. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming. Yes, I'm a professor in the Kingston School of Art, which is the art faculty of the university. And part of the work that I do there is fiction writing. And much of the writing I do is for contemporary art publishers such as Reaction and Diaphanes. But I also do books for literary or more mainstream publishers like Faber and Faber, Picador, and so on. And I'm very interested in that interconnection between art writing and literary writing. So I guess that's always been reflected in the writing that I've done. The two novels which I have coming out this year, both are about the winter of 1978. So this so-called Winter of Discontent, the last winter before Margaret Thatcher's government. And I guess I've become quite fascinated again, especially with the music culture of that period. And so I've been writing about that era. The novel White Noise Ballrooms, which I'm going to read a little bit of, is a novel which explores the youth culture of that era. And the other novel, which is called Thatcher's Tomb, is more of a fragmentary account which imagines a kind of alternative variant of the years of the Thatcher years. The way in which I think that this might connect to the theme of loving, to Stephen's theme of loving, is that both novels are about ideas of memory, forgetting, and abandonment. And I guess in the way in which I treat those themes, those have interwoven connections with loving. I'm not going to read anything from Thatcher's Tomb, which has actually been printed so far, but I'm going to read the section from White Noise Ballrooms. This comes out in May, but the publisher already published the opening of the book. They also publish a kind of arts literary magazine called Diaphanes. And luckily it's in really big print. I think I'm just at the age where I'm starting to see glasses between these readings. But you might find that I have to ask people to pick my glasses out of my bag if I don't mind. So I'm just going to read the first 2 or 3 pages from the book. Now the dead will no longer be buried. Now this spectral city will become the site for execrations and lamentations. Now time itself will disintegrate and void itself. Now human bodies will expectorate fury and envision their own transformation or negation. Now infinite and untold catastrophes are imminently on their way, ready to cross the bridge of the river Aire and engulf us all in this winter of discontent, just beginning at this dead of night, instant before midnight. North Sea ice particles already crackling in the air, and the last summer long over. So we have to go, the devil is on our heels, and now we're running at full tilt through the centre of the city, across the square beneath the Burbeck marble edifice of the Queen's Hotel, down towards the dark arches under the railway tracks, the illuminated sky shaking, the air fissured with beating cacophony, the ground underfoot trembling. As we pass through those long, sloping tunnels, their arched brick walls streaming with water, the trembling intensifies. Beyond the far side of the tunnels, in near darkness, a chaotic straggle of bodies extends towards us along the narrow pavement at the base of an immense abandoned building, 700 figures or so, elated and exhilarated, simultaneously downcast and accursed, all emitting their own vocal strage of noise against the monstrous burst from that building's interior. And against the facade there also stand resolutely isolated, shadow-hidden figures in silence alone, near embedded into that building's soot-encrusted, scarred surface, shards of broken brick against split-lipped and hugged faces disjointed from that straggle of bodies. At exactly midnight, the paint-peeled oak gates of that now derelict tramshed, its vast interior space once teeming with steel carriages ready to head on electrified lines from the city's peripheries, are now emptied out for over 20 years, are due to be priced open, and the Futurama music festival will begin at that instant. It will not end for exactly 48 hours. Many of the crowd carry tattered blankets in the expectation that there could be sleep to be had with the unknown world inside the tramshed facades. Others carry nothing but a plastic sheath entrance card with a stenciled image of a ghost figure in a 1930s suit, face gone beneath his hat. There has never been such a festival here in the north, only one-off nights of oblivion at punk rock venues sited alongside polluted rivers that stream with naphthalene detritus, or industrial zones of coal tar residues on the city's discarded edges, occupying the decrepit nightclubs, dance halls or ballrooms, whose proprietors despair of finding other bookings. Our location is at the heart of the city's aberrations. Through the cacophony-beaten, worn-down facades of the century-old tramshed, the noise is diminishing, reduced now to sequences of sudden split-second electronic wails. Whoever is testing the sound system now decides that its malfunctioning is irreparable, or has reached the acoustic threshold at which it can be sure to irreparably damage all listeners' ears. Only the dementia and psychosis propelled the night screaming of the inmates of the high-roids asylum for the insane, the sub-city for the mad on the exposed hills to the northwest of this city, could compete with those last wailings before the tramshed's interior abruptly falls silent. We are going inside and will not emerge until our bodies have been exposed to experimental treatments or unprecedented ordeals, as with those subjected tonight to the high-rise inmates' bodies. The surrounding city is falling silent too. The bars closed over an hour ago, and the final drinkers pass by on the street's opposite side without speaking, casting disbelieving glances at the dishevelled line of figures. Already another 200 bodies are massed behind us. Nobody here in the zigzaggy line loves this city or this country, England. The name of this festival is cast in sardonic irony. Any future was curtailed and annulled before our lives began. The Second World War ended only 33 years ago. Our fathers are still obsessed with it or wounded by it. The tracts of every industrial city of the north remain wastelanded by its aerial bombings. We despise our distant fathers, and our nerve-shredding mothers are hidden. We already belong to the markets, slaughterhouses and corporations of the city. Our lives are what is said to be gutted out and discarded by them, unless we elude and refuse them. The blinded government of England, Callaghan's government, is almost ready to fall. A bad time is coming, far worse than ever before, only the span of this coming winter away. Thatcher is coming, and the devil is already here, to see and touch, in this dark and fallen apart city. Serial killing is here, gang warfare is here. Along with the entity of noise we are about to confront, moments from now, a tramshed facade away, our only intimate attachment is to our own violent exhilaration and its instantaneous combustions and conjunctions with other bodies. It's midnight, and those bodies around us are very restless. Everyone falls quiet for a moment as the seized-up hinges of the gates gradually pivot open to create a narrow aperture. A short, hunchbacked man with a black beard emerges, limps out on clubbed feet, into the middle of the street. Swinegate glacially praises the line of bodies as though they are gathered there solely for purposes of slaughter or prostitution, expires a reluctant breath, looks up into the stars of that endless moonlit night above the city, then nods to himself, gives a minuscule hand gesture for the gates to be wide open, and stands to the far side of them, glancing with definitive disinterest at the hand-brake entrance cards. Even those isolated figures, enmeshed in the tramshed's lacquered facade, detach themselves and are irresistibly sieved inside with everyone else. The accelerated line of bodies fractures, and we follow the rusted tracks that emerge from the tramshed gates, ready to enter a lifeless void already seething with disorientated bodies. As we leave behind the surrounding city, it appears to respire again as though a great malediction is lifted. Inside this cold and abandoned tramshed, which its momentary proprietors, to conceal its denudation, have called the Queen's Hall, as though in derision of the Queen of England, whose reign's 25-year jubilee took place a year ago, or else to intimate that this hall is the infernal twin of the lavish Queen's Hotel, in which every inhabitant of the city dreams of spending at least one night of their lives on the far side of dark arches. An atmosphere of acute fear soon comes alive. In the 2 decades since the trams were scrapped, no work of renovation was ever undertaken here, and the slate floors are still slick with a screen of oil thickest between the steel tracks, where engineers spent decades on their backs at work on the tram's undercarriages. The overhead power lines are gone, but the corroded gantries that supported those lines remain, and above them, an immense void of subconstellated air stretches to the ceiling far above us.
The blackened interior walls of this tram shed hold an ineradicable coating of century-accumulated work sweat, coffee, cigarette tar, and benzene, generated by relentless, intense activity, now overlaid with the haunting aura of that activity's abandonment. With the sudden heat influx of 1,000 young bodies into the hall, that coating is already pulsing back into life and emitting a dense toxic stench. No lights have been switched on in the hall, and all that can be glimpsed of its interior is revealed by the burning ends of cigarettes. The massive bodies propelled into the hall through their own velocity now begin to panic as though they have been led into a chamber designed solely for their slaughter. A sizzling of malfunctioned electricity traverses the space overhead as the scattering of fluorescent tubes fixed to the overhead gantries are turned on, casting a vertical light down upon the accumulated bodies. Exposed, we scrutinise one another, eye to eye and face to face, an audience of the dead. Thank you. That was